Stand and cheer for the Panthers. Stand and cheer for the team. The pride of both Carolinas and city of the Queen. Carolina! Stand and cheer for the Panthers. In our grand old name. Nothing could be finer than to be in Carolina for a Panther football game.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Panthers Brawl. As always, alongside Chauncey Stewart, Tyler Bursky, and Jeff Taylor, I am your co-host and moderator, Jack Taylor, and I'm so excited to be back for another episode of the Panthers Brawl. Episode 4 now. We've gotten about a month's worth of episodes, so it's been this first kind of quarter, you could say, and it's getting more and more fun each week. And we've got some exciting news to tell y'all. It's kind of low-key, but I think we can mention it.
Yeah.
But our very own Jeff Taylor is now the quote-unquote executive producer of the Brawl Network podcast. So he's going to be consulting each and every podcast that the Brawl Network puts out. They're each better than the last, so he's going to be overseeing those and hopefully making sure that we get the best resources from the beginning. But that's neither here nor there. But Jeff, congratulations on that.
Guess where I'm at?
Where are you at?
You can't see it. I'm in L.A.
Well, he's in LA getting these connections for us right now, huh?
Exactly.
Look, Big Boss Man already started, man. Look, the game, the work won't stop.
The work does not stop. We don't care how late it is. We don't care what day it is. It
Yeah.
does not stop.
I have no idea what. I have no idea what day it is. I just know it's 3 hours behind you guys.
It's time to get this money. Is what time it was.
Exactly. And speaking of which, I mean, Jeff right here is the prominent example of no matter how old you are, no matter how long the game you've been out, you can still keep kicking and still keep going. And it doesn't matter if other people don't think you have anything left in the tank. You can prove that you do. He does that. Our very own, or formerly very own, Greg Olsen has done the same thing. As obviously the biggest news in Panther Nation coming out of today and the last couple of days is that Greg Olsen will sign a 1 year, I think it was $13 million in total after the signing bonus.
Oh yeah,
$7 million.
Yeah, I knew $7 million.
$7 million
to start. Yeah.
It was $7 million and I think a $5 million signing bonus. He is signed with the Seattle Seahawks, very fondly referred to on Twitter by Panthers fans as the bitch pigeons of the rainy city. I got a little bit of a kick out of that one. I'm not going to lie. I liked that one. Because it's no secret Panthers fans don't entirely care for the Panthers. Panthers fans don't entirely care for the Seahawks. And I mean, what are your initial thoughts on it? I know what I think. What are your initial thoughts about Greg going to the Seahawks?
I know for me, obviously he was a free agent. I'm not upset towards Greg because at the end of the day, he has a job to do. He was released by one employer, went to another employer. So I treat it like how I would treat anything else. You know, he went to find another job. So I'm not mad at him. I mean, really nothing for me to be upset about. I mean, the team released him.
Yeah,
it's
business.
It is what it is. It's business at the end of the day. So, I mean, more power to him. I do not hope, look, I mean, I'm glad he's getting paid.
Yeah.
But that's all I want from him.
That's all I want to see from you now.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, for me.
Go ahead, Tyler.
All right, yeah. For me, of course, going to Seattle, there's so many other teams I'd rather see him go to. Just because, as you mentioned, like that out of division rivalry we have with them, it just kind of inherited. But for Greg, I felt like his time was coming to an end in Carolina. And, I mean, as much as I would like to see him retire a Panther, he had a great career for us. And, he did so much for the community and then the team also. And I just wished him the best of luck. And then, I mean, just because I don't like the team, I still root for Greg.
I think for me, it's that player that every team has that if they move on, it's the player that you would really want to see win a Super Bowl. I mean, you want to see somebody like him win a Super Bowl. Good guy, great for the community, and really for the teams that were courting him, whether it was Redskins or the Bills or something, Seattle was probably his best bet at getting that Super Bowl. So, as a person who loves football, who loves, the good guys, good for him. And, we wish him the best. And he's that one guy you kind of root for.
I'll be interested to see what were because your youngest son is a diehard Seahawks fan. What were his reactions?
Nate loved it, man. Nate thought it was the greatest thing in the world. Nate is like, we finally have somebody who can hopefully hang in there. And Nate talked about, not really having a solid tight end because they've had some injuries here and there. Now, of course, Greg, can he stay healthy is the question. But no, Nate was fired up. He probably was. And he wanted to know, of course, how you reacted. But it's I think for Seahawks fans, they know what they're getting. They're getting a veteran, a leader, and and another spin on it we haven't talked about yet was I'm wondering, other than the Levine Children's Hospital in Charlotte, the Children's Hospital in Seattle. There you go. In Seattle, I got you. But the one in Seattle is pretty big. So, to have that comfort as a family to go out there and know they've got that available to them probably played a big role in it also, I would think.
Yeah, obviously every Panther fan knows the story of the Olsen family and how his son suffered a very serious heart disease and still is affected by it. And it's actually not by coincidence that I wore this polo today. Over the summer, I worked for the Seacrest Studios program in Charlotte at the Levine Children's Hospital. Basically, we put on, kind of like we're doing now, we put on a radio, TV show for the kids in the hospital, entertain them, keep them, upbeat while they were in the hospital. And one of the biggest proponents and one of the biggest donors for that entire hospital, he just added a new whole wing because of his donations, was Greg Olsen. They were there all the time. It was a big factor when he moved from Chicago to here because it was right around the time that his son got diagnosed. So, and it was funny. My show that I did was called Kicks That Care. And any NFL fan knows in the past 5-6 years, I think, actually it's probably shorter than that from what I remember, the NFL started the initiative called My Cause, My Cleats, where players would get to, they get to customize their cleats and any way they want, and they could look flashy, they could look different. Only time in the entire season where they could wear different cleats other than their team. And so a lot of players, they put it to certain causes they were supportive of. And Greg, obviously his was Have a Heart and also Levine Children's Hospital. Those were his cleats, and a lot of the players on the Panthers as well. I know Matt Paradis did it last year. Andrew Norrell did it in the past. I know a lot of the linemen and tight ends, they did it as well. They wore the same cleats. And so he was a big proponent of – he was my first episode because in Charlotte and as that subject, I focused on players and I focused on their foundations that they raise money for, and then showed a little bit of highlights, talked about them as a person. So Greg was the first one I did. My first day on the air, I did it on Greg, finished my episode, put out a lot of stuff because I was like, I know him. I know I can talk a lot about him. I go to the bathroom after my show was done. We had to fill an hour. So you have to, music break. We get music breaks. We get videos. I would show when Greg was I think number 35 on the top 100 a couple years back when we went to the Super Bowl. I showed that highlight reel. I go to the bathroom. I come back and the other intern's like, Jack, you're going to die. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? She was like, Greg Olsen just walked through the front lobby of the hospital. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was so upset. I wanted to be Greg Olsen so bad, and I'll talk about it a little later, but I have met Greg Olsen before, but that's a story for a different time. Regardless, so that honestly, the hospital might have played a part. Seattle, my mother's a doctor. She knows how good the Seattle Children's Hospital is. So that honestly could have played a part. What I want to know is we all kind of saw, especially through Panthers Twitter, it was speculated, and especially today after Greg kind of referred to it again, Cam Newton and Russell Wilson had an interaction at the NFL Honors Awards the day before the Super Bowl. They whispered into each other's ear, almost reminiscent of LeBron and what did he whisper? AD? No. LeBron talked to somebody. Steph? Someone? Yeah, I really don't remember. I can't remember. But LeBron, that kind of picture, LeBron, covering their mouths so they can talk to each other without people trying to read their lips. Cam leaned in, whispered something to Russell Wilson. We don't know what was said, but it was a little bit later. Someone, I think it was the check down, they tweeted, what is Cam saying to Russell? And Olsen quoted the tweet with that Olsen can still play. And then today, after the signing, Olsen tweeted, I guess my references checked out. So I want to know what y'all thought about that interaction. Do you think Cam was alluding something to Russell, or do you think he was just, it's all just hearsay and he was just talking to Russell?
I want to hear Tyler go first on this one because I'm interested to see what he has to say.
Yeah, for me, this stuff's always interesting, the little nuances of this kind of thing with the players. And for me personally, I think it was just more of he didn't want this public to see what he was talking to Russ about. He could have very well said something about, just the rivalry or just the teams themselves or how each team's doing. He could have said anything. So, but I don't think it was about Greg, but if it was, that would have been pretty funny.
Yeah. I think he was whispering, do you need a backup in Seattle?
We're gonna. What do you think?
I'm just giving you a hard time. I don't think it was anything. I think you were just like he said, Tyler said, they were just shooting the bull. But to me, yeah, do you need a backup in Seattle? There you go.
I don't want Cam joining the ranks of Travarius Jackson or whatever his name was, or Tyrod Taylor too for a little bit.
Travarius
Jackson, that's what it was.
Yeah, Tavares Jackson. You want Geno Smith over there?
Geno Smith, I don't want Cam
Yeah,
joining those
right
ranks.
now.
I don't want that happening.
Yeah, well, so I think amongst those, that quarterback fraternity is a little different. I definitely think that he gave him a little insight, like, hey, because Greg was already released by then. By the time the NFL Honors came around,
Yes, he was. Yes,
yeah. So obviously, Cam and Greg obviously are tight.
He was in contract talks. He'd already talked to the Seahawks.
Yeah, so at that point, I know Cam. Of course, I think they all knew the situation that he was in. They all knew the teams he was looking at. Hey, yeah, I can see it. I think that's probably what it was, but it easily could have just been an interaction between two guys that have been in the league around the same time, broke in together. You know what I'm saying? Two quarterbacks, obviously, the two black quarterbacks as well. Obviously, I can see them. They do have a relationship.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that conversation was alluding to something about Greg Olsen and whether he was going to go there or how good is he now. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it very well could have been also like, didn't Russell Wilson just announce that they're going to have another child?
Yeah.
Third kid. So, it could have been, they both have multiple children. They both have almost, Cam's got 3 now, I think.
Yes.
3 or 2 or 3?
Honestly, no telling.
I'm
honestly.
All right.
But we're not going to talk about that because that's, it could be 4. It could be 5.
On we go.
You do you, Cam. Blessings. But because we don't want to talk about that. Okay, switching topics. Obviously, Panthers fans seem very divided on this, as Panthers fans always are. And I think most fan bases are very divided. You see it in Tennessee. Some people want to see Ryan Tannehill or Derrick Henry not be signed again. Some people in Seattle don't want to see, Bobby Wagner. It's weird. Some fans are very weird on teams across the country. But in our case, fans are very divided once again on multiple different issues in the same offseason about whether or not they support Greg in his decision and want him to go get a ring and want him to be successful the way he deserves, or they never want to see the Seahawks in the playoffs ever again. And I have my answer. I have my opinion. What do y'all think? What do y'all think?
I think that, for me, it's if you're a football fan and a pure football fan and you're happy for the guy, that's great. And I get the whole it's like when Steve McNair went to Baltimore.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? But I always wanted to see Steve do well. I think that the fact that if you think about the last 4 or 5 years with the Panthers and the Seahawks, outside of, the division within the conference, they've had some pretty stellar games. And I think that, you can look at Panthers and the Saints and the Falcons and the Bucks, that's one way. But really that battle between the Seahawks and the Panthers has really escalated over the last couple of years. I think if that hadn't taken place, they'd be fine with it. I think it's just back and forth with the Seahawks over the last few years is why the Panther fans are a little like, nope. If all of a sudden Seattle comes into town next year and it's the NFC Championship game, let's say, and it's Seattle, Carolina, and Greg Olsen scored the winning touchdown for the Seahawks, Panther fans would lose their mind.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the case too. I know for me personally, I'm actually a fan of what Seattle's done because I'm a fan of defense. So I'm always going to be a fan of what Pete Carroll's been able to do there as a head coach. I love Russell Wilson and how he elevates guys. But I do not want to see anybody win a championship over my team. Irregardless of who's over there, I'm happy you getting your paper. I'm glad you making your money to do you. But when it comes out of these championships, I'm selfish. I want all the chips on my table. I'm not. Like I said, I hope he has a great year because I want Greg Olsen to have a good enough year in Seattle to where he could hopefully bolster his Hall of Fame reputation. Hopefully, get a chance to make it into the Hall of Fame. That's all I want. Aside from that,
Well, see, that's the argument I make is that I'm not trying to be a proponent of the fact that, I'm rooting for other teams to get rings because that is a big thing. Like people say like Panthers fans will root for all these old players, TD, Khalil, Olsen, to get rings over their teams. That's not what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. Now, say that happens and the Panthers are already out of the equation. Cool. Yeah. That's fine because we didn't fight for it anyway. Say the Chargers made the Super Bowl this year. I would have been cool with it because for me, I think I am on that side of where we should not have wasted. Not that we wasted it, per se, but I wish we would have achieved the success when we had this talent. That 2015 really was that border of these guys are on their way out. We need to get them a ring. I think that was a big factor in the success we had that year was that motivation. You had TD, you had Greg. We didn't know how long these guys had. We had Jonathan Stewart. We didn't know how long they had. And I think that if Greg could get a Super Bowl this year, if he could get a ring, or even just an 800-yard season, 750 yards, I think he will do really well with the Seahawks because they do need that tight end presence. And I think Russell Wilson, like we said, can elevate him. And we know he's a reliable guy. We'll see how his foot does. But regardless, I hope he gets a ring. Honestly, I do, because I know he deserves it throughout all the things he has gone through with his family. And he has done more than most I've seen after watching All or Nothing. I know how much he wants to play and be successful. It kills me inside for him to think that he won't get a ring, because I know how much he wants it and how much he's worked for it and everything, all these other outside factors. I do lament the fact that it would have to come with the aforementioned bitch pigeons. But, I mean, because I actually disagree with you, Jeff. I think, honest to God, the Bills might have been a better option for getting a ring because of the way that the Patriots, the way that the uncertainty of that division, and with how much the 49ers have been successful this year, I think they could maybe continue that success. And so Seattle, well, they still might make the playoffs. I don't know how well they do getting out of it. That's a different conversation, though. But I do think that I err on the side of I hope you are successful, and I will root for you until you play us. Once that comes down to it, all the cards are off the table. Then we have different words. What about you, Tyler?
Yeah, right. So I think Jack covered it pretty well there. I see it as two separate issues. Like, of course, I hate Seattle forever, but I root for Greg still, no matter where he went. And if they were to beat us, if anybody were to catch the game-winning touchdown pass, I'd want it to be Greg if it had to happen. So I mean, I just wish him the best of luck there. And even though I'll never like Seattle, but I will shout out the Panthers fans though on this. I mean, I would say the Panthers fan base is pretty reasonable and even compared to some other ones I've seen out on Twitter. I mean, especially like Seattle or Philly, like those are some crazy.
They've got their
fan
moments,
bases.
definitely. They have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, every fan base has their moments too, but yeah, I see it as two separate issues, and I just am excited for Greg.
I think honestly one of the least aggressive fan bases, because they really have not had anything to be aggressive about in the past. Yeah. The Titans. They don't really ever make any waves because they don't ever have any. They up until this year have not had anything to make waves about. A lot of the times, everyone kind of blows their takes away because you're just the Titans, go away. But
when you keep getting to the playoffs at 9-7,
Yeah, but hey, this year now they're making.
It works though.
It works. Hey, it works for them.
Just so you know, and this is for a completely different show. Adam Schefter just reported that Brady, the Titans are the top choice for Brady right now if it were to happen.
But see, why would you want him?
No, we'll go down another.
That's a different path. But
let me just hold on. Let's stop real quick.
Yeah, no, we talk about it.
I don't.
Yeah, why would you?
I mean, you had that offense rolling. You had Tannehill, Derek, all of that. You listen, go one more year now. Of course, I think the main question there is Tannehill. When people are trying to say he just had a great year and what's going to happen next year, roll the dice one more year. You got nothing to lose, man. Roll the dice, tag him, sign Derrick Henry to the biggest contract you can sign, get him for 3 or 4 years. But I don't want Brady. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see how long the Tannehill magic lasts. But I still think he gives you more guaranteed years than Brady.
I agree.
I mean, just as far as longevity goes, whether that's success-wise, that could come. That's neither here nor there.
And the fact that Derrick Henry has actually come out and said, "I want Ryan Tannehill for another year."
You listen to that man more than you got Derrick.
When you got Derrick saying that, yes.
Did you see how much he deadlifted
today?
No, I didn't.
There were no more plates.
They could put 45s on it. I don't know.
I'll be surprised.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you see his legs; they're bigger than my body.
Yeah.
He's got calves like redwood trees.
If you want to know how big Derrick Henry is, you ain't got to look at any pictures of him. Just look at that picture of him standing beside Mark Ingram. And
Exactly.
That does it right
absolutely wild. Oh my God, he's unreal.
A grown man.
I mean, really, honest to God, he would make Cam look small. Really, he would.
Yeah, you got to really try to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But Tyler, and Tyler, you talked about it a little bit, and it's wild. Because, I mean, I think you think about all these past Seahawks games against the Panthers and regular season or in the postseason. Obviously, ones that come to mind are postseasons. You got when we almost blew a lead in the first round or the second round of the playoffs when we had a 20-point lead and they almost came back. Thank the Lord we won that game. Year before that, where we were holding our own up until Cam threw the pick six to other Cam, and that was gross. But then, or to get to the get to the playoffs in the regular season, Greg Olsen scoring that wide open touchdown in week 11? No, 7 early. I don't remember.
It was about midseason.
It was midseason, but that was when we really made that turning point into into the top tier team. And then just think some other games. That one game I remember I think it was one of the first times we played Seattle in this stretch, and we were even winning the game. We were driving downfield to score the winning touchdown. D'Angelo Williams fumbles the ball in the red zone, and that started his deterioration of his career. Or even like 2 years ago, when we were trying to recover from the aftermath of the crap show that was the Steelers game, and we thought Seattle was a team we could beat. It was a team we needed to beat to stay in playoff contention, and then we just kind of started.
And Corn Elder happened.
Yes, Corn Elder happened and got burned by David Moore. Not even the best Moore on the field that day. But that rivalry has become one of the bigger out-of-conference rivalries in the NFL in the past decade. I mean, those were some of the biggest teams in their time frame, some of the most successful teams, at least in the NFC. I mean, I can't think of a lot of bigger ones. To me, that's been our biggest out-of-conference rival. There are other contenders, but I go with the Seahawks. What about y'all?
Yeah, it would have to be Seattle. It would have to be, in the sense that we've had some classic battles with them, and it was a turning point of like when both teams were good. You knew that was a game that, like, okay, whoever wins this game is the class of the NFC. There was no debating about, because Green Bay, even with, I mean, we've handled Green Bay.
We haven't had really bad, other than this last game, which we should have won. But
this is Kyle Lau. I'm not putting that on us. but
that's the snow covering up the freaking end zone.
And Kyle Allen.
Wait, I fumble that ball.
Yeah, I mean, I've been. That's the biggest rivalry that I can think of that out of division that mattered to me. It's always been a fun game to watch. Now I will say this, even with as competitive as it's been, we haven't won many times out of this matchup.
Like, at least not in the regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, in the offseason, it's an even, or no, I actually think
we've beat them once in the regular season when it mattered, and once in the playoffs when it mattered.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, it's 1-1 in the regular season or in the playoffs.
Yeah, 1-1 in the playoffs. The regular season, they ain't been too kind.
It's been, I think, 1-3 thereabout. I mean, like I said, there are some other teams. I don't know if y'all thought, like the Redskins. I mean, that's not a rivalry per se. We played them a lot of years in a row. I mean, is that what
you got to think about the Redskins in terms of just territory? For a lot of North Carolina people, it was probably either we're going to root for the Falcons or we're going to root for the Redskins. Because if I'm correct, Charlotte a lot of times actually got more Redskin games than they did the Falcons just because of where they were located. So you get those northern North Carolina people and stuff. The Redskins were who they kind of, rooted for. So I think the Redskins-Panthers deal, a little bit, not to the extent of Seattle. But if you had to pick the next team, I think it's Redskins just because of that territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, definitely Seattle comes to mind first as a team outside of the division that is just the biggest rival. But besides them, probably Arizona I'd go with. I mean, we've had some tough games against them in recent history. And, thankfully the last game I think we played against them, that playoff game was a big win to send us to, through the playoffs. And then, I mean, I was just wondering, while we're on the topic of rivals, I don't know about you guys since you're more local to the area than me. Who in the division do you hate the most?
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in our Money in the Bank segment. We can fill in the segment right here.
Well, if you need a little refresher,
click on go to YouTube, Money in the Bank episode 3. We can give you the full rundown in that.
Yeah, it basically boils down to New Orleans. I haven't really been a fan of since about since they won that Super Bowl.
Yeah,
because they were cute up until that point.
Deflategate, or not Deflategate, excuse me, Bountygate. That's my anima. Was it? No, Cam was in the league when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Bountygate was like Bountygate went back to that 2009 season.
Did it?
Yeah,
I thought it was the year after.
No.
Okay, well then, yeah.
It's all the same time frame.
Yeah, I was saying, so same period.
So we all hate him for
We
a
all
rock
agree.
Yeah.
On the same time frame.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much 09 when they won the Super Bowl, because obviously I don't want anybody else in my division to win a Super Bowl aside my team. So
yeah,
that was pretty much it for me. So
and the Bucks are just like, the little brother. They're like, oh, it's cute. Like
cute.
He's trying to be like Big Brother. That's adorable.
That's nice.
And then and then unfortunately,
Atlanta's a shit show because they'll crap themselves before anything else.
But the problem with Atlanta is a lot of times, I mean, we've been swept by them the last 2 years, and a lot of times we are, in my mind, the better team.
Right.
We just play worse. We either execute wrong. I mean, especially after that, them breaking our perfect record. That I will never get over. I mean, sometimes the Falcons to me more because the Falcons have less talent than the Saints, but they still would have some of the same level of success, and that is what pissed me off.
When it comes to Atlanta, you're your own worst enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
You kill yourself. But for me, New Orleans, I listen. As much as I like Drew Brees and stuff like that, Sean Payton I cannot stand. And Taysom Hill, I can't stand. So
and Taysom.
Oh, we talked about that.
Sean Payton is just this kind of arrogant, and he knew what Kevin Gilbride was doing. I mean, not
Kevin, facilitating it.
He knew exactly what was going on with Bounty Gate, and when you do something like that, whatever.
Yeah. But I thought I'd put Do Not Disturb on. It's okay. But yeah, no, it's just. And it's funny you talk back about that Cardinals and the history we have them. I mean, obviously the game that broke my heart and killed any love that I had for Jake Delhomme, which was that playoff game in 2000 or 2008, 2009, whatever it was. We were 12-4. We had the bye. We were coming off the bye, and 7 turnovers later, we lost to the Cardinals.
I cried that night.
He can attest to this. I had a Jake Delhomme poster on my wall. Literally seconds after the game ended, I run into my room and ripped the poster off the wall and I threw it in the trash can. I was so angry.
I cried.
I never forgave Jake Delhomme for that. I forgave him last year. He was in the Hall of Honor. I'll let it slide. But in the deepest parts of my heart, no, he's still not forgiven because that was supposed to be an insane year. That was back to that same team that had gotten to the Super Bowl. It was supposed to perpetuate. Oh, now this is our chance, and that. Just gone. Just absolutely gone. And when you really come down to it too, not even just like the fact that we had like these playoff games with the Seahawks and the 49ers, Seahawks Cardinals, if you really think about it, our rivalry has been with the NFC West.
Yeah.
The majority, I think 95% of our playoff games in the last decade and a half were against the NFC West.
We got some classic battles with the NFC West.
In that Super Bowl run. I mean, because the last playoff game we played was the Saints. And that was the only playoff game other than the Super Bowl year. That Super Bowl year, we played the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Year before that, we played the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Year before that, we played the 49ers. And then the last time we went to the playoffs before that 49ers game against Colin Kaepernick was Jake Delhomme and the Cardinals. So, literally, I mean, that's 6 or 7 games straight against the NFC West that we were playing. And they were all really, really close games.
It's crazy. Go up. If you really want to kick it back.
We were in the NFC West, weren't we?
We were.
We were when we first, and then expansion draft too.
I ain't gonna lie, go all the way back to 05. We got beat in the NFC Championship game against the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Then you go back to 03. You beat the Rams
in the overtime.
in the divisional round.
Literally.
Mm-hmm. It's just
it's the NFC West. What do you have against us? Calm down. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously. Like, when it comes to the Saints and the Falcons, I mean, we have, like, until the Falcons get a ring, like, the Bucs and the Saints have the bragging rights of, we have Super Bowl rings. We don't have that, but we have the next best thing, which is we were the first team in the division to win the division multiple years in a row. That was not, no other division had that. No other division had that history of literally every other year it was a different team. Right. We were the first 4 years in a row. We have that. Yeah. Because as good as the Saints ever were, as good as the Falcons ever were, the Bucs ever were, they never won it 2 years in a row. And to be fair, I mean, we had the 7-9-1 season. Winning is winning. Suck it. So, I mean, it's gonna be. I'm holding on to until hopefully, like, it's a grudge match with the Falcons, and that's why that Super Bowl we talked about a little bit. That next Super Bowl after the Panthers Broncos, I was so shocked when I saw so many people that were rooting for the Falcons because they thought the Patriots were cheaters. Like, no. Don't root for the Falcons. They're in our division. We don't want them to win. Yeah. Like, and that baffled me so much because there were so many people in Charlotte that were so split. They were like, no, Patriots are cheaters. I'm going to root for the Patriots. I'm like, no, why would you root for the Falcons? It's the Falcons.
Yeah.
The
Patriots accumulating rings don't do anything for me. They're going
to do it regardless.
Yeah, they're gonna win. First of all, your hate's not gonna help. Not gonna stop them from winning.
No.
So I mean, there's that.
So that's what made that Super Bowl much more important. And just especially because I think the history when it comes to Atlanta and Cam. I mean, he's got such history in Atlanta. His whole family's kind of embedded in Atlanta. You always kind of, not that I felt kind of betrayed per se, but the same with TD, but I was also like, oh, he's a piece of him is in Atlanta. You know, I wonder what these games might mean to him.
Yeah.
And talking about Cam and his mentality of it all, as each day passes and as each new thing comes out and each statement is either made or fabricated, might be the better word, I start to worry more and more about not Cam's health physically, but his health mentally and what all this is doing to him, because he's such an enigmatic man. This has got to be doing something to him. I mean, that's at least what I think. I mean,
for me, I think Cam's one of those. He's like he's the elite of the elite athletes that respond to critique and criticism and doubt. I know he's this great big figure that we always see as being happy for all the time, but at the end of the day, this guy is the guy that he's responded when his time has been called upon.
Yeah.
When we had questions about whether he was a bust at the number one pick when he missed the playoffs his first 2 years, he came back his third year, goes 12-4, answers all those questions, answered them with the MVP. I think he keeps responding. I think this is just it's a test for him. Obviously, I mean, he hasn't been healthy the last 2 years, but time's only gonna tell. I mean, Cam seems to respond every time when questions were about his accuracy. He came 2018 up until his shoulder got blown out. He was over 60% as far as completion percentage. Cam's a gamer. I think he'll respond. But he's been taking note though of everything that's been said about him in his absence.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, Cam's always been the man. Honestly, around Carolina and Charlotte, he's just been the guy. But before that, he's faced a lot of adversity. You know, at Florida with Tebow there, he had to leave because of the whole laptop situation. You know, he took a year at Blaine College to play at like a smaller level before going to Auburn, and then of course, you know, going on to be the number one pick. So I mean, he's definitely faced his adversity before, but in that interview during the Super Bowl week, I mean, of course, it's just an interview. He sounded really confident though about his, you know, future in Carolina. But for me personally, like I've always been saying, like you guys know, like I want Cam, I want to keep Cam around, but lately, actually, like my mind's been changing a little bit. Because after this year, we got to extend him, and I don't know what the future looks like with Cam after this year. Of course, this year I think, you know, I'd like to keep him around because he's making so little money, and you know, Alex Smith is even making more than him, as I said. So like, for this year, I'm all right with Cam, but if we sell him now while we can, you know, that might be a better move for the future.
When it comes to Cam, and I'm gonna go back a little bit. You know, obviously he had some of the issues in college. You know, you come to Carolina, and one of the first things he says ever is, "I want to be an entertainer." I don't know if you guys remember that or not. He said something to that effect that, you know, I want to be an entertainer and I'll do it on the football field. And you know, he was exuberant. You know, and he was out there, and you know, and not only that, and you know, being a black quarterback, and you know, having the problems he did, and then make the statement and you know, and they would show the media was so bad on him because they would show him on the sidelines moping and with the towel on and all that other stuff that he just had to overcome it all. And I think he was getting to a point where he's grown up, he has shown maturity, and I think, you know, his answers to some of the questions during Super Bowl week were fantastic. But I just begin to wonder, you know, how tired is he when it comes to the Panthers and being, you know, with them. You know, I'm worried about him that way, but I think he's done such a great job of growing up and becoming a man and becoming a dad and becoming that stellar part of our community. But, you know, I think it's just he had so much to overcome, and he's done such a great job. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you talk about it a little bit there. He's always had to deal with that, and I think it's telling. I mean, the success he creates after dealing with this adversity. Correct me if I'm wrong. He won that JUCO championship the year he was there, Then he won the national championship the year he was in Auburn. And then, I mean, he's gotten the success. You talk about 12-4 after not making the playoffs 2 years, making the Super Bowl in his first 5-6 years. So I think not only does it fuel him, but I do think it does hit him a little bit. And I think not because from the fans per se, I still think all this from the media does hit. I think it's blatantly unfair. The coverage, the type of coverage and the sheer amount of coverage that he would get. And it's not just him, because for whatever reason, like you said, they would not show. I mean, they show the occasional quarterback on the bench, sitting there, but literally every time something like the minute they came off the field, boom, right to Cam with the towel. Right. Then after the Super Bowl, I mean, Cam says one thing. Cam doesn't even say anything. No. He just stops asking questions, which is not an uncommon thing in the world of sports journalism. Players walk out of press conferences and have done that in the past. Yeah. He got blown up for it. Tom Brady did the same thing. Or Matt Ryan, did the same thing a year later. No one said a word. I think it's incredibly unfair how much coverage he got. And you see it still today. It's not as much. It has happened around. Some people like Deshaun Watson have gotten it. But when Cam performs poorly, all eyes are on him. Everything is on him. And you see it with Lamar Jackson this year. Lamar Jackson had one of the best seasons a quarterback could have. You play one below average game in one of the biggest stages against an incredibly good team on defense. And you get blown up for it and act like you're immature and you can't handle your stuff and you just immediately get blown away because you maybe have the wrong skin color for your position. I'm sorry, but that's really what it boils down to.
And here's the deal. Even now, and let me just ask you three this and y'all kind of, what do you think, if let's say Cam never wins a Super Bowl and just kind of, fades off into the sunset, what is the one moment in his playing history do you think will be relived the most?
Obviously they're not jumping on the phone.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's the only moment that people will.
What? But I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Oh, not jumping on the fumble.
Not jumping on the fumble.
100%.
When you know what should be the moments that should be relived? How about carrying 3 guys on his body as he fights for a third down? How about playing a game not 4 days after getting in a life-threatening car crash? How about taking an incredibly offensive game that you needed to win late in the season against one of the best offensive players in the league at that time, and they had just scored a touchdown against when it was that Giants game. He has the towel, and he goes, all right, bet. Let me go score. Goes out and scores.
If you listen to what the media says about Cam's only had one good year in their mind. I think obviously it all hits a little bit harder for us because obviously you two being from the Charlotte area, me and Tyler being Panthers fans from afar, we've watched Cam grow from his first year as a rookie to this point now.
Oh yeah.
I've watched Cam do a lot of incredible things that people just won't give him credit.
No,
I mean it's clear as day. Obviously, the media has their picks, and I mean it's a game that I mean it's not fair. It's a dirty game that gets played out in the media when they pick who they want their darlings to be. I mean, obviously we see Taysom Hill gets all the love in the world while there's Teddy Bridgewater on the roster. That's a proven starter in 34 starts. He's 22 and 12, but yet we're questioning whether he can play in this league as a starter.
Or not even that, but just and not again. I have nothing against Russell Wilson, but he doesn't even get the flack that Cam gets. And not that I'm saying he does things that deserve to get the flack, but there are certain things that
he's a media dog.
He's a media darling. He's the Cinderella of the NFL. And even like Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, they'll do things that if Cam threw a pass without looking, everything in the media that we go, he's a cocky little piece of crap. But he doesn't. He's just a playmaker. He only cares about how he looks. That's exactly what would happen. And I understand that as Panthers fans, we also get a bad rap because I know Cam is not Superman. No. He was at a time. He was but even some of I never liked the towel on Cam's head. I never liked how much emotion he showed on the field. As a quarterback, you are supposed to be level. I liked seeing him happy, but when you're sad, when it's not going the way you want to, you're not supposed to show that. I understand that. And it's like you said, Tyler, not that I've been thinking about it, but it's what I've been begging for people to understand. And it's what I feel like we've said in every episode. You're not going to get a better quarterback at $19 million for this next season. So let Cam play one more season, play out his contract, and then based off of this year, he's got an adequate line that can protect him. He's got the best weapons ever. If he doesn't perform well, then there's no excuse. Then, yes, you can cut him. Then I have nothing to argue. But to not even give him a fighting chance because look at the media, and the media's the biggest proponent of it, and it's been proven this week. the media proved to everyone this week that they give Cam unfair coverage. You want to know why? Because Bleacher Report, one of the top authorities in sports news, quoted and sourced an opinion column from the Charlotte Observer stating that Cam was going to be traded. They took, and their source that they said, oh, no, it's okay, was Evander Holyfield, whose son isn't even on the roster anymore. But they quoted from an opinion piece claiming that because of that opinion piece and how it was written, that it was certain that Cam was going to be traded come March 1st.
Yeah, and I was highly upset with Bleacher Report. I know we know what kind of media outlet Bleacher Report is. You know what I'm saying?
But I think they've garnered more respect.
Exactly. You've garnered enough respect to the point where that shouldn't come across my phone as breaking news.
No.
Like that. That's what irked me.
Because when I saw that, I freaked out.
Like we looked at each other in class like.
Yeah, we were like. Because.
Yeah.
And when you're a top tier news organization, you take the time to look and see if it was an article or if it was an opinion piece.
Yeah, it was just irresponsible on.
I mean, you know that, Jeff, as a member of the media, you understand that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, but here's the problem with the media now, and the media is changing, and it's you got to be the first to report something. And no matter what it is, right or wrong, get it out first and you're good to go. And, for them to say that, now, I mean, had Evander talk to Cam and stuff like, but you just don't. But people, listen, the media now thrives on controversy, people yelling at each other. It gives us stuff to yell about.
Yeah, sure. It's true.
So are they doing their job? I mean, are they getting people talking about it? Yes. Is it ignorant? Yes. Are you're buying into Evander Holyfield? I mean, stop. And so I'd like to hear Tyler's thoughts. The younger guy.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because as we've been saying throughout this time, I won't believe anything until I hear it from the head coach and GM. That's who makes the decision, and nothing's been official yet. And it's just really irresponsible for that to, as big of a site as Bleacher Report, where so many people are following them and they're such a big following. So it shocked you guys. It shocked me. I was nervous. I was like, this is huge news. But then, you look into it and it's Evander Holyfield, talking about it.
Yeah. And I was like, really? That's who you're going to source? Evander Holyfield. Okay. Right. Yeah.
Cool.
Like, you do you. Okay. I understand how this process works now. I get it. And, I mean, like we said, if I were to hear the right offer for Cam, if we, like you say, we shop him now, save that money, might be better in the long run. If I hear that offer, then maybe, I'm a bit more okay with it. But whether I hear it or not, that's not here there. But I'm more concerned about. I believe, regardless, that Cam will be a Panther next season. I believe he will. I think he's still on. I think they're going to take that option. I think that's going to happen. He'll get one more year to prove himself. I hope. I pray. Now, after that, it's all contingent on how he performs this season. Like I was saying earlier, he's got his best weapons. He's got a better than average line, I'd say, as long as they're healthy. He's got a subpar defense, but what they're going to be focused on is his offensive, outcome, offensive output. If he can score, can they produce? That's what he's going to be contingent on. So for me, I think he's a Panther this season. Who knows next season? What do y'all think?
Keep Cam. In short, keep Cam. But here's the thing: I will understand if they were to move on in the sense that you signed Matt Rule to a 7-year deal. If I'm not,
7 year. Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. So if they really want to give Matt Rule the team that he wants to put out there, then you go ahead and you package Cam up for whatever you can get and just roll with it. If that's really how you feel, you've already. Greg Olsen's gone.
Yeah.
Luke Kuechly's retired.
Yep.
You're almost due to pay Christian McCaffrey. So and because of how everybody feels about the running backs and paying at that position, which again really usually isn't the smartest thing to do for most guys, but this is a different case.
Yeah.
If you feel that you're in a bad position as far as like where your money's going, then move on.
Yeah.
That's a really you feel that strongly about it. But in short, I do think Cam is still going to be a Panther come next season.
Okay.
I'm going to go completely opposite. I think he's gone. I think he's played his final day as a Panther. I think that I would have wished and hoped we would have heard more from management in a more positive way. You know, every time it's, well, we'll wait till March. We'll see if he's healthy, if he can perform. And I agree with what you said. I think that with Matt Rule, I think Tepper said, listen, I signed you to 7 years. You said this is a building process. Tepper keeps saying building process, blah, blah, blah. Now, the question is, so I think Cam's gone. What do you get for him? I'm going to tick a lot of people off. I don't think you get more than a 3rd or 4th round pick for him.
Yeah, I don't think the market's that great for a guy that hasn't played in really a year and a half.
And it just is. And here's the deal. If you can find that right mix, and I'm going to go back, and I'm sorry, I know I talk Titans a little bit sometimes, but who would have thought Ryan Tannehill would have done what he did? You know, so if you can bring, I mean, I've heard, like, do you bring in Andy Dalton? Do you bring in?
I'll leave. I'll go to you. I'll go with the Titans if that happens. I'll leave.
You bring in Andy Dalton. Do you go get Teddy Bridgewater? Do you go get whoever? And I mean, the gist is, but here's the deal, and I'm going to leave it at this. I'll let Tyler take over. I hope that if Cam's gone, I hope he gets healthy, and I hope he just goes somewhere and sticks it to all the media.
Oh yeah,
said something bad to him, and just give him the big old middle finger and go, screw everybody. You guys didn't think, I'm not done. I knew I wasn't done, and I'm gonna prove it to everybody. And that's what I hope happens if he goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Cam, I mean, I see the Panthers as we've always been more of like a conservative front office with making moves, signing free agents, making draft picks. But it's kind of been shifting a little bit with Tepper. With he's the richest owner in the league, so he's more aggressive, making moves. He's going all in on this thing. But I think the conservative thing to do would be to keep Cam for one more year, see how he plays, and then if you don't want to re-sign him, you let him walk. But if you're confident that Cam is done in Carolina, why not just trade him and get something for him before he just let him walk to free agency and get nothing out of him? And I agree with Jeff totally about probably a second, third for Cam, because it's tough to really invest in somebody like Cam at this point with all his injury issues and everything. My only thing is tanking. Selling a lot of assets off at this point. We have a superstar running back right now that isn't getting any younger, and I think the window with him is definitely now. So I don't want to say that we're going into a rebuild. I just want to. I mean, Seattle kind of did the same thing a few years ago. They kind of just replenished and just filled a few needs, and then they were back in the playoffs real quick.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be unopposed. I wouldn't be opposed to hearing offers for Cam this year.
Yeah,
I mean, especially if he comes out as healthy, and we think that's the way to go.
What would you take? What would you think would be the fair?
I'm not taking any worse than a middle top tier to top tier player, and then a first or second round draft pick. I mean, that's what I need. He's the former MVP. If you're a team that needs a quarterback and he's healthy, I'm not taking any less than that. Because if I'm taking 2 draft picks, I'm getting what I got for Khalil Mack. But I am.
But he's got the same injury as Andrew Luck.
What do you do?
I'm just saying, I mean, you're until he throws, it is a huge, huge risk.
Okay, he threw well he threw well enough with his foot being halfway off. He still threw well in the Rams game. It was obviously bad in the Buccaneers game, but he still threw. We've seen things, and if he is completely healthy, and we say have this preseason where he's throwing and he's doing well, even if it's a game, and even if we're taking trades halfway through the year, I'm still not taking less, because if you've lost. You have given up if you're taking less than at least. Because I'll take 2 first picks, or even a first round pick and a second round pick. I'm taking 2 picks, or I'm getting Kyle Fuller and a mid-level first round pick. Because if the Bears need a quarterback, that's what I'm getting.
It's got to be at least it doesn't have to be at least a future first, because if I'm shopping away a franchise quarterback, and that's what you will be doing at that point. You got to pay up.
You got to pay up.
You have to, but now that's the thing. That's why I don't think he's going anywhere, because I don't think nobody's willing to pay that.
No, I don't think so either. Because, but I mean, because unless he performs the first couple of games, but we still think that's not the direction we want to go, and then he's proven that he can still do it. I don't understand why people are forgetting how good he was, and how good he was not only during the MVP season, but the year after that, and the year after that, up until he got hit by a man who's the same exact size as him right in his arm. You don't just walk away from that the same. You don't do that. And I think he had MVP performance during those first 6 games, he had one of the best QBRs in the year in the league that year. He had some of the best stats that year. So his last normal, and that was the first 2 years that he had been injured for more than 45% of the year. So, I mean, I'm not taking less than a top-tier trade for him because that's what he deserves. And if you're the Panthers and if you're trying to rebuild your team without him, that's what you need. I mean, it sounds biased, but people quickly forget how impactful he was and how impactful he still can be. I mean, that's just me though.
That's what it boils down to.
But what offers would you want to hear? What offers do y'all think are reasonable, I guess?
Yeah, I think, if we let him walk after he played another year in free agency, we'd at least get a 3rd round compensatory pick back for him. So definitely more than a 3. But I've always, I'm with you, Jack, on it's hard. I don't know what teams would give a 1, but it'd be really hard to turn anything less than that, or accept anything less than that.
Yeah, it really would.
Listen, I'm gonna go against you guys. I don't. How broken is he? I mean, that's the big question: is how broken is he? And it just is. I don't see a team that's gonna go. I think you're gonna. I don't even think you're gonna get Jack. I don't even think you're gonna get a player. I think they'll pull the trigger if somebody offers them a 3rd round draft pick. They'll pull the trigger.
And then I will promptly go over to the Titans and never talk to the Panthers again.
But let's think about it. Break it down for a second. I mean, okay, so obviously he's been linked to Chicago.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Who need a quarterback desperately.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yes.
Okay, I agree.
Even broken Cam Newton is better than Mitch Trubisky. I'm sorry.
What if he goes to what if he goes to gosh forbid, what if he goes to Tampa Bay?
I expect
Tampa would
Vita Vea and a 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
That's all I'm hearing.
And I'm gonna be honest and just don't get me. I'm gonna tick people off. Even his last year or so, yeah, and you can go back to 15, 16, 17.
Not 15.
Huh?
15, he was the MVP.
No, I'm saying go back to 15, 16, 17. That's great. The last 2 or 3 years, you're talking about health and really not a very accurate quarterback. I don't have his numbers in front of me.
He's never been he's been more accurate than people give him credit for. Because you see some of the throws he's making when he's under pressure, and he's more accurate than people give him credit for. But it's also hard to be accurate when you're getting breathed down your neck because your offensive line gives you 2 seconds to throw the ball.
I agree.
Put on the two-tone blue lenses. Derrick Henry next year tears his ACL, right?
Right.
He tears his ACL, plays halfway through the season, say he breaks his foot, or he breaks an arm, or something of that nature.
Right.
Now he's getting talked about getting traded. Now he's getting talked about should we re-sign him? He's coming to the end of his contract because you tagged him and then you exercise your option and then tagged him. What are you taking for Derrick? The former MVP or former top rusher in the NFL, who's had now 2 years of injuries, subpar, but we're shortened because of injuries.
Probably two. Probably.
I'm about to say that, and it's a little different because it is a running back.
Yeah.
So you really gotta take it. You really gotta compare quarterback to quarterback.
Yeah.
So what did and if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember for the life of me what did San Francisco give up for Jimmy G?
A 2.
It was a 2. Yeah, it was just a 2.
Okay. If they can get a 2 for him, a guy he was an older guy. He's not young. Jimmy G's 28. He ain't young.
No.
You can get a 2 for him. I can get you can't tell me I can't get a 1. Now, are you willing to give me a 1? Probably not. But here's the thing. I don't think many teams, if I had to be honest, what team really has the assets to really get Cam for like an equal deal? Like
the Bears.
Yeah.
Sam Bradford was traded for a 1.
If I'm the Bears?
Yeah. What do you give up if you're the Bears to get Cam?
You can give up a defensive back. You can give up a defensive. You can give up Eddie Jackson or Kyle Fuller. I'll take either one of those in a 2nd round pick. That's fine. That's a good deal because you get a automatic Pro Bowl defensive back either in the safety or the cornerback position, which we need.
Yeah.
And then you get a 2nd round pick.
Jackson. I would take Jackson if that's the case.
I would take Fuller.
Jackson a 2nd round pick. I'd take that.
I mean, Fuller's shown he's better than Bradbury.
Yeah.
I would take either one of those. 100%. And if the Bears needed that bad, then cool. We get him.
Let me back up because I want to make sure I got this right. The only way they can do anything with Cam though is they either cut him or trade him, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
He's still got a year. He's still under contract, right? Okay.
Correct.
So Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking into the crystal ball, I'm saying it's a 3, but I could see a 2, but I don't think anybody's going to give more than a 2 at all.
Yeah, it's hard to tell just because I don't know which teams would give a 1 right now. I mean, I was just looking in Sam Bradford in 2016. The Vikings gave up a 1 for him to Philly. Yeah,
For Sam Bradford.
For Sam Bradford. So it's hard to find
Sam
the value.
Hey yo, you gotta pay up. If Sam Bradford can go for a 1, you gotta pay me. Pay me.
He's the first round pick. Why is Cam get first? Cam was number 1 pick, so Cam gets that much.
One guy's actually a good quarterback.
Exactly. One guy's been the NFL MVP, and one guy's been to a Super Bowl. Not Sam Bradford.
But it's understandable though.
I'm not gonna stand here and say that I think it's going to happen. I'm just saying what he deserves. I'm not saying it's going to happen, and it's not gonna be reasonable. I'm saying when you think about what we're giving up and what we're trying to do because we're giving him up, then that's what we need to look for.
And I don't want to go down another bad road here or whatever. We talk about Sam Bradford and Jimmy G and stuff like that. White pocket passer.
No, yeah.
Black mobile quarterback.
You're not wrong. We understand what league we're in right now.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we're in the league where Eric Bieniemy is not a head coach.
Right. No, I agree.
It's a dirty game being played.
Okay, but I mean, all this aside, because this is all really just conjecture. I mean, that's what most sports talk is.
Yeah.
But regardless of what happens with Cam, regardless of what happens in the next few months, I mean, God, we have till April till the draft, which is so long. I really don't like that you did that, NFL. I really would appreciate if you make it earlier, even, honestly, because what are you doing at that time? But who is someone that you think, rain or shine, trade or no trade, Cam, no Cam, no matter what, the Panthers need to draft first, second, third round, wherever. Who do y'all think we need to pick up?
Go Tyler. Tyler's the drafting guy.
Yeah. All right. So it's hard to pick out one guy for sure, but if I have to go with one guy, I'd go in the first round with Derek Brown. If you look at mock drafts or just look at anything draft related, it's really hard to avoid seeing the Panthers getting Derek Brown. I mean, we were so bad against the run last year, and it could even just get worse if we're not able to bring back Gerald McCoy. And, Don Terry Poe, he has that contract situation where we can bring him back, but he could be gone too. And he hasn't been great either. So I think bringing in a guy like Derek Brown, who I watched his film the other day, and I think he's an elite prospect at the position. Just a pure game wrecker. I tweeted about it on the Panthers Brawl. So if you guys want to check that out. But I like Derek Brown, but, that drastically changes if Cam's gone,
Yeah.
Of course.
I'm going with Tua. I think that Cam's gone, and you got to get some energy and excitement. They're going to figure out a way to work it up, and they're going to get Tua, and that would add some excitement. That would add some jersey sales, put some butts in the seats, and you got McCaffrey and Tua back there. That's where I'm going.
I'm gonna take this on two fronts real quick because for one thing, no, that's another thing. If you're Tepper and you're a businessman, honestly, then you keep Cam because I want to tell you, you thought the seats were empty this year. You thought the seats were empty this year. If Cam's gone and McCaffrey, all we have left is McCaffrey, there will not be people in Bank of America Stadium. We've seen it happen with the Hornets. Their attendance has plummeted without Kemba. So if Cam's gone, I'm sorry, but you have TD's gone, Olsen's gone, Cam's gone. You're gonna see a huge drop.
Tua's gonna fill seats though.
Not with the Panthers.
You don't think Tua would fill seats?
Do you think that the offensive line that has broken a 245-pound plus man can keep a person who has a glass body intact? Tua has had more injuries and more consistent injuries than Cam has had ever.
Well,
so
I think Tepper's going to let's think about it this way. If you keep Cam, you daggone well during free agency, go get yourself a couple of premium offensive linemen in free agency.
Not even that.
Then you're ready to go.
I think right in the draft, right off the board, the more and more I look at it, I understand that Kinlaw and Brown are really good off the board, but the offensive line class in this is, while it is heavy, I think there's room where you can get right off the bat. Andrew Thomas, right out of Georgia. I've seen him play against South Carolina. He went toe-to-toe with Kinlaw and did pretty well. He's an offensive tackle. He's 6'5". He's huge. Put him in there. Solidify the younger talent. You have Daly. You have Little. You have Thomas. You have your young core. Because it doesn't matter who we put back there. If we can't protect them, I mean, McCaffrey barely is able to get out of there. He can still break through the middle, but if you can't protect the quarterback, it doesn't matter who's back there. It could be Tua, it could be Brady, it could be Cam. It don't matter. So that for me, no matter who we got, I'm sorry, I need an offensive tackle.
Yeah, I don't really have the draft thing. Really isn't my thing. I haven't really looked at any of these guys in particularly per se. So, but if you keep Cam, you go offensive line. I couldn't tell you which one. I'll be honest with you. Until I go look at it myself, I really couldn't tell you which one. If you don't keep Cam, then yeah, you would have to go Tua, honestly. That's the only other quarterback I can see you taking that early. That would be worth it. But that's
unfortunately, you might have to trade up to get him.
And see, I'm not doing that.
You know what? I'll be bad. I'll be bad for another year before I trade up for Tua. I ain't gonna lie. I'll be bad for another year. It wouldn't even be that bad. Because honestly, because if I had to trade up for Tua, and I might as well tank and just get Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence next.
Because if you're going to trade up for a quarterback, trade up to try to get Burrow, which you're not going to get. So you don't trade up for Tua. We can get Tua at 7. He's not going to go that far. I don't believe that people are that heavy on him because of his injuries. I know the physicals came out fine. But I mean, I don't put the weight on him yet because I don't know if he comes out of the gates and is all cylinders firing. I just don't see it. I would wait. I mean, I'm not trying to wait for Lawrence. I'm not trying to wait for anyone like that. But like I said, I don't trust anybody in this draft right now that I want to go after other than offensive line or defensive line. I mean, that is just me. Sure. But it's like I said, it's all conjecture. We can all see what happens. We can be patiently waiting for that March 1st, March 31st, whatever.
March 1st is the beginning of the
opinionated article, which Bleacher Report decided to accredit. So, other than that, we'll really see what happens. And, I mean, we can sit and argue all we want, but, I mean, and we can say whatever we want. Doesn't mean anything that we're going to say is going to happen. And none of what we say is going to affect anything that happens in the front office, which a lot of fans don't really understand.
Yeah.
But going into next week, I don't really have any topics planned because, for the one thing, Lord knows what's going to happen within a week in terms of how much has happened with the Panthers this week and some other teams. And on a more exciting note, now it will be a little sad because next week Tyler and Jeff will be taking a break from the Brawl. They're both doing separate things. But Shantice and I will be in Charlotte, North Carolina on location at one of their many fine breweries. And we will be sitting down live with former Carolina Panthers, former Miami Dolphins, and former Houston Oilers, Tennessee Titans, however many years he was on the team. Former offensive lineman, who knows more about the struggles than anybody else.
Yeah.
Kevin Donnelly. He has been with the Panthers towards the end of his career. His home is in Charlotte. His family's in Charlotte. And in the later parts of his years, he's been a coach at Charlotte Christian, a coach at University of North Carolina at Charlotte. And he has worked very heavily with the Panthers media and their PR department, doing their on-game, pre-game shows, some post-game shows with Mike Tolbert, and now hosting his own podcast, because everyone's getting on the train now, with former Panthers defensive end Al Wallace. So we're really excited to have him on. We're going to get to talk to him what his perspective on everything that's been going down and how his kind of insider look into it, because he knows more than most about the culture of a NFL locker room. So that's going to be really, really cool. And a little bit of a kicker, little reasoning as to how we were able to get him on. Not because he just isn't such a very accessible man, because he is and was very accommodating to help once I reached out to him, because that's just kind of the guy he is. But actually, here at the University of South Carolina, I have lived with, I guess now 3 different sets of roommates. But my freshman year, after living with the roommate I lived with, I moved in for our sophomore year. I moved in with one of the guys that lived on my floor, and another guy, and we lived in an apartment together. And his name is Thomas Donnelly, and it was actually kind of funny because I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until we were looking for apartments near the end of my freshman year, and I wasn't even the one who put 2 and 2 together. It was actually originally my dad who put 2 and 2 together. So you want to talk about that?
I got to go look at apartments with Kevin Donnelly.
Yeah.
For an entire day and had lunch. And I know I probably embarrassed him, Jack, because I sat there the entire time just kind of in awe that I was having a friendly conversation with Kevin Donnelly. And we talked about I talked all Oilers and Titans. I didn't really talk a whole lot about the Panthers. But yeah, that was kind of a cool day. And I remember my wife going, relax. breathe. Don't embarrass your son.
Well, it's funny because we were talking like in the dorm one day, and he was like, we were talking actually about you, Dad. And I was like, yeah, my dad, he was a sports reporter forever because we were talking to each other. And I was like, he was a sports forever, and then he was like a youth pastor, and then sports reporter again. And I was like, what does your dad do? And he was like, oh yeah, my dad was in the NFL. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, my dad played for the Panthers. I was like, and the Titans. I was like, really? I was like, yeah. I was like, what's your dad's name? And he's like, Kevin. So I called my dad immediately. He was like, hey, do you know Kevin Donnelly? And he was like, you mean like the former lineman for the Titans and the Panthers? I was like, yeah, that's my roommate's dad. And he was like, literally sent me pictures within 45 minutes. He was like, trying to find Donnelly Titans jerseys on eBay that I can wear when we go meet him. I'm like, Dad, please don't. I really would rather you not. So he won't unfortunately be there to embarrass me anymore. Because he'll still be out in Cali where he is. He's, he's getting cabin fever out there. But stay tuned because we have that episode coming up. That's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait for that.
Oh, yeah.
You will get to see us. We won't get drunk, but we will definitely drink on air.
Hey.
Yes.
Oh, no, that's going. We're not going to get drunk, but we will drink. We will have some of the fine beers that they have at Old Mecklenburg Brewery that are Charlotte themed as well. And then we have a very special Money in the Bank planned as well. We're not going to tell you why, but stay tuned for that.
Look, man, just keep your eyes peeled.
Just keep them open. We're going to be continuing to give y'all what y'all been asking for, and that's more about the Panthers. So we hope you've enjoyed this first month or so of the Panthers Brawl. I know we have. And until next time, everybody, keep pounding.